Greetings and welcome back to the weekly news Roundup. I hope that you guys are all having a good week, and we will go on into the end of this week with a glorious bang. All right. And, of course, I'll start out with a couple brief announcements. If you missed it yesterday, we did a live hangout testing Starlink and an alternative microphone in the event this one happens to go haywire on me. So that all worked out pretty well. Cellular is better than the Starlink if I'm doing some of this stuff. I mean, I have 0 drop frames now. We started the stream with Starlink with like 35% drop frames or something. Not as good as you might think for streaming, although it turned out being okay. It was doable, so we can, and also we did that with a Jitsi call running at the same time. That could possibly have some impact. So just interesting things to think about. The nice alternative went. Last week I did attempt to do a show where we edited out and then to get it uploaded, to get the timestamps in faster. That would have taken a whole lot longer. It just was not a viable option. So what we're doing now is I usually get the timestamps shortly after the show's over. I'll put the timestamps in right away, but they're going to be like 30, 40 seconds off until I get a chance to get the video edited, which I cannot clip out that first 20 seconds that we want to clip it to until YouTube is done processing, and that usually takes until Friday afternoon sometime. So it's not like laziness. We physically can't, because YouTube does not get us the processed video done in enough time, and it just me recording it and then uploading it exactly like that it was just not a viable solution. So we have dropped that plan, but we will, of course, stay with how we are. Of course, we are talking 3 major sections here today, and what I do want to mention here before we get started is you can have a look over the website. There was a link in the description that takes you over to the page, and this has all of our links in it. So if you're like, where'd you get that link? It's all in the description already as of right now. If you want to help support the channel, have a look over at DigitalOcean using our affiliate code TLM.li/DOH for DigitalOcean hosting. You will get $200 credit, good for 60 days. And if you start buying the product because you like it, as I do, I will get account credit for that. So you can join us over there. If you want to help support other ways, switchedtolinux.com/support will give you access to the various ways that you can support either individually, a list of affiliates, or things like that. So with that, we are going to dive right on into our first topic, and that is FOSS content under attack. And actually, no, we're not talking about the whole XORG situation. So I have got a chance to read up on that today. Of course, we release all the notes, or we get all the notes and stuff done for the show the night before. So anything breaking or relevant going on the day of the weekly news roundup is not actually included, and that includes the FOSS situation, although it might fit nicely under this. I have seen several of the articles, watched several of the videos, and I gotta say, I can see both points of the argument. I think both sides are coming to the table with a little bit blind to the opposition's views. So maybe I will talk about that in a separate time. That is not going to be today. Today we want to talk about FOSS under attack in terms of YouTube moderation. So there has been some changes. Of course, you're looking at a guy who's received community guideline strikes for wrongthink. Literally nothing I've ever done is actually against any community terms, but YouTube has automated AI systems, and when you flag it, they just automate it through the same AI system again, apparently, because, okay, I flagged the system, flag it for a manual review, and 5 minutes later on an hour-and-a-half video, we have determined that your video has violated our terms. Really? You're telling me that you have a speed watcher that watched an hour-and-a-half video in 5 minutes and determined it violated your terms? No. In fact, some of those terms are completely not talked about today. Using even here the examples Of course, the first one was about, I was mentioning the what was called the VARS database. We're not going to go into detail here. And they're like, oh, that's medical misinformation. I have a PhD in biomedical research. I'm aware of what the database is, and I spoke about it from publicly relatable things. Okay, not a community guidelines violation and not medical misinformation. Nevertheless, I got one for that, for standing up and preaching the truth during the koofies when other people would not do it. For whatever the reason was. All of the other community guideline strikes I've received are exactly in line with what we're going to get to at the end of this, so I'll tell you what those are after I talk about what YouTube is doing here. So on the one hand on their mouth, this week they're saying YouTube will protect free expression, end quote, by pulling back on content moderation. And so they say a higher bar for content removal will allow more potentially inflammable content to be in the public interest. So YouTube's content moderators have been provided with new guidelines and training on how to handle the deluge of provocative content on the platform. So beginning late last year, YouTube began informing moderators they should err on the side of caution when removing videos that are in the public interest. By, quote, recognizing the definition of public interest is always evolving, we update our guidelines for these exceptions to reflect the new types of discussion we see on the platform today. So the one example they have is an RFK Jr. video delivers sledgehammer blows to gene-altering jabs, I guess is what the video title was called. I have no idea what the video is and never seen it. Doesn't sound interesting to me. This is, of course, an example of medical misinformation, as there is zero evidence that mRNA vaccines can alter a person's DNA. And I will tell you that if you have mRNA floating around in a cell and reverse transcriptase is turned on, yes, it will. It's a theory. That's a theory. That's not, I don't know of any specific study where people looked at it, but it is just a general textbook molecular biology, college molecular biology course. If mRNA is floating around and reverse transcriptase is turned on, you are going to insert that stuff back in the DNA. It just happens. So there is the point of this is there is a cause for a debate. And for anybody to stand on any scientific principle and say the science is settled is nonsense. Science is never settled. Science is always evaluated, is always examined. It is always studied further. It is always deeper hypothesized. Back in the day, you'd put leeches all over yourself to suck the bad energies out of your body. And that was sound science in the day. If we kept on, if we just said, oh, science is settled, the leeches just suck the dead energy out of your body. There's no need to look forward. And that's what was so egregious about taking these videos down, is because it hampered the public discussion, the public debate about such things. YouTube's moderation team was now instructed to allow the video to remain up in the public interest because the public interest outweighs the risk of harm, is what they're saying. Now, as other people have pointed out, maybe they're doing this. In fact, I think it's actually kind of a clip down here at the bottom. Practice allows us to prevent, for example, an hours-long news podcast from being removed for our show for showing one short clip of violence. Now, here is the way you look at this. With YouTube cramming ads roughly every 3 minutes now into a video, what we are starting to see here is if people are really, really, really like, broadcaster A, let's just throw out a random name and say Tucker Carlson. And I don't watch Tucker Carlson. I don't find his videos particularly compelling. I don't. I know that somebody accused me of really being a Tucker fan. I'm not. Never have been. But if he has a diehard group of fans, and if 100 people are really looking forward to the next Tucker Carlson video, and they go to see it, but YouTube took it down, and a 2-hour video block that YouTube could have crammed about 100 ads into that thing is taken down because of a 5-minute clip in the middle of it, YouTube has lost a lot of ad revenue, and they are getting now a lot of pushback from everybody trying to say, you're censoring XYZ content creator. And that really is what is at the push behind this. In my opinion, this is not as much about being loose on this as we got to keep the people addicted to their favorite content creators. As long as they're not doing anything extraordinarily egregious, let's let those big videos run because ad dollars are tasty in my wallet. And that kind of is the case. And so I get this article this week that YouTube is backing off on its content moderation, and this is great for all of us, guys. We're all going to have all these amazing things. And then in the same week, self-hosting and media servers are in big tech's next target. And people sent this in it is either the comments or people sent it to me in one of the social platforms or an email or something. So I wanted to have a look at that. This is also from this week, June 6th, and this deals with Jeff Geerling, which I have not watched his content, but I browsed through his channel. It looks deeply compelling. I might go watch some. And in his, he had a lot of things like I used to do. Maybe I need to get back into a lot more tutorials, how to self-host things and things like this. In his case, he had a video for LibreElec from 2024, how to install LibreElec on a Raspberry Pi. Of course, LibreElec is a distribution specifically dedicated to my best buddy, Cody. And so as this is up, he's working on another one of these videos. He's all excited. He checks his email and community guidelines strike. This video has been taken down. And it is, of course, the LibreElec video. And so he asks this fundamental question on his blog: what is YouTube smoking? So it's a good question. I don't know. But there's a community guideline strikes for harmful or dangerous content. I have received this email 3 times, folks. I have had my content taken down 3 times on YouTube for harmful or dangerous content. 2 of those were about my best buddy, Cody. And the other one is a Linux Mint application that starts with an H that's sort of like hypnosis. They really didn't like anybody talk about those. Some Ordinary Gamers this same week also had a video taken down where who's talking about Linux Mint and simply displayed on the software manager in Linux Mint was an application that could be used to download videos. Just the mere presence of that being on the screen is what he believes caused that video to be taken down. And this, by the way, is why I'm streaming on 5 platforms right now. Because I'm at the top of the world. I was literally on the top of is it like $5 hill or $10 road or something like that in Southern Oregon. And I was up on top of this mountain. It was a glorious view. It was amazing. Everything was right with the world until that Saturday, and I get a community guideline strike for, I think it was the H-word video. And so I get that one taken down, and of course you challenge it, and it's of course an hour and a half, or was it an hour? I forget how long that video was. I can't remember. That might have been a 20-minute video. As soon as I hit the button, it's immediately, yep, it's dangerous and harmful content. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Wouldn't you know it? Just about 2 or 3 months ago, Patreon gave me a community strike for talking about that community strike. So the reality is my channel has had a lot of these same exact strikes for the same exact stuff. Now, I've not had any recently. He actually had, Jeff Geerling also had one. Oh, he had to go through policy training, by the way. I had to go through policy training. I had to go through YouTube's medical misinformation policy training course to get my strike taken off. Isn't that awesome? That's so cool. But anyway, his other one from October of 2024, setting up a jellyfin on NAS. That was the recent one taken up. Now, I have one on jellyfin on NAS, and it has not been taken down yet, so I don't know what's going to happen. And here is really where we get into some of the challenges. He has a big enough channel that if his stuff goes down and he makes a couple of posts, hundreds and hundreds of people are not, will come out and completely barrage YouTube social media team, like, oh, we got to reinstall this guy's channel. In fact, the same thing happened a couple years ago when Linux Experiments channel was taken down. I think he was doing a raffle or something, and I was one of the many people that added YouTube services in his behalf. Now, I don't watch Linux Experiments content, but I am going to stand up and help anybody in the Linux community continue getting their videos. And if I hear about somebody in the Linux community who has videos taken down, I'm going to be adding YouTube community creators, tagging them all as well, because we need to stick together in this, okay? And so with that, there has been an attack against the self-hosted, against FOSS software. So while YouTube is on one hand coming out and saying that, whoa, sorry about that. I had that on the wrong screen. My apologies. YouTube, if YouTube comes out and starts taking these videos down, they're not going to take down something with something crazy for 5 minutes in the midst of this whole long video so they can keep on cramming ads. But anything like self-hosting or anything that teaches you how to be more reliant on yourself and less reliant on the big tech companies, they'll take that stuff down because that cuts into them and their backdoor buddies' bottom lines. And so if we're over here talking about how to run your own media servers, how to find your own content, how to avoid the giant ad trap that they're trying to push everybody into, anything that talks about that, they are more inclined to take that content down. But, if you are reporting on some situations going on over there in Israel or Palestine or some other war situation, we'll let that go because we don't want to take the whole hour and a half down. That might hurt our ad revenue channel, And so that really is the issue here. So I encourage you to check out that Jeff Gearing's channel if you've not already had a look at it. I'm going to have a look over there myself as well, but he's doing some cool work. And, and I just hope that if YouTube comes and takes me down for teaching you how to do something like that, I hope that the channels that don't even like me will come along and help support keeping the channel back online. Of course, since I'm some white conservative Christian dude, I'm not exactly holding my breath, but, you can pretend. All right. Next topic we wanted to cover today is going to be dangerous security in a healthcare business. We're going to start with 23andMe. Of course, 23andMe, and I have been telling you since this company first existed, guys, you can go back and find any video I had on 23andMe. Don't send your company, your data to this company. They're going to be looking for the buyer. All your data is going to be sold to some probably health company of some form or another. And once you know it, 23andMe goes bankrupt. They are going through a sale, and a pharmaceutical company goes to buy them for, I think, $270 million. And the problem is that they have nothing of value except this giant treasure trove of people's DNA connected to their names and all sorts of fun stuff. Ooh, it's like pure liquid gold. Now, the good news is, well, I don't know if this is good news or not. Wojcicki, who is of course, the old CEO, who is no longer the CEO, has come back with a brand new company that she has just founded to do nonprofit medical research, has come in and thrown in a bid for $303 million, outbidding the other one in the hopes of keeping the data away from a big pharmaceutical company. But anyway, 23andMe had agreed to sell itself to his Regeneron for it's $256 million. I think I said $293 million. It's $256 million. So in that agreed sale, along with all of the customer data, they get of course they get the data there. So, Ann Wojcicki puts forth a last minute bid of $305 million, throwing this into question. The bid was made through TTAM Research Institute, a nonprofit medical research organization recently set up by Wojcicki. Remember that Wojcicki is also closely related to the Google developers. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Interim CEO Jill Salsavage says that at the hearing, the company's March bankruptcy filing, 1.9 million of the 15 million customers have chosen to delete their data. Now, what they were questioning here at the committee, they're basically dragged in front of the committee, both the new CEO and the old one, Wojcicki. And they're basically grill them for saying, why is it not infinitely easier to delete your data? So the committee has criticized the company for failing to model the potential transfers customers' genetic data in the upcoming sale with an opt-in framework, and ruled that 23andMe made it too cumbersome for customers to delete their data, 23andMe's biggest asset in the sale. It's kind of like the same, click to cancel Louis Rossmann talks about. If it's super easy to sign up, why isn't it super easy to say, nah, get rid of it all? Should be. During the hearing, interim CEO Salsavage and former CEO Wojcicki repeatedly declined to commit to establishing a customer opt-in mechanism, specifying one that would require customers' approval before their data could be sold and transferred to a new owner. That's the point. Yes. 23andMe's privacy statement tells that any new owner must adhere to its existing data protection guidelines, which include not providing user data to insurers, employers, public databases, or law enforcement without court order, search warrant, or subpoena. That is not comforting, being as that every one of these policies says they have the right to change the policy at any time. And if a new owner buys it, who's to say that's a stupid policy? Let's change that. We have the right. We own it now, you know. So for whatever that is, of course, if you still have your data on 23andMe, you should go ahead and delete it. And what I wanted to mention, of course, here is that you're looking at these big companies and they're collecting all this medical stuff, and sometimes they go belly up. And then the question is, what happens to all their data? And your data in the hands of these companies is quite dangerous. In fact, this is something that UK Health is looking at here as well. The public health bodies in the UK have been urged to launch their own period tracking apps in order to protect data. And there's actually a number of different articles about this. Public health bodies should launch alternatives to commercial period tracker apps, experts say, as the report warns women's personal data is at risk of being harvested by private companies. So smartphone apps that track menstrual cycles are a goldmine for consumer profiting, collecting information on everything from exercise, diet, and medication to sexual preferences, hormone levels, and contraceptive use. Okay, so basically they're saying that there's all these apps, and the reality is you can build an app without this stuff in it. The problem is nobody does. And so these apps are full of all this stuff. So the governors are basically saying, hey, you should, the individual organizations should do these instead, arguing that apps must provide clear consent options rather than all or nothing data collection, and urge public health bodies to launch alternatives to customer CTAs. Yet the business model behind the service rests on commercial use, selling the user's data insights to third parties for profit. All right. So the data pregnancy is believed to be 200 times more valuable than data on age, gender, or location for targeted ads. And with such demand for period tracking, the authors called on public health bodies, including the NHS in the UK, to develop their own transparent and trustworthy apps to rival those from private companies, with apps allowing permission for data to be used for medical research. They say the use of the cycle tracking apps is at an all-time high. Women deserve better to have their menstrual data treated as consumer data. Now, here is some things to think about that they haven't covered. Number one is they did say down here, they said the apps that these companies, that the private organizations would use, like I guess the public health organizations would use, would allow permissions to be used for medical research. Well, I don't want my data used for medical research. Okay, I don't care if it's going to help somebody. I don't want that happening. Okay, I was deeply influenced by George Carlin early on. Okay, don't be on the organ donor. That guy's just looking for parts, man. I mean, call me crazy. Okay, I'm okay. I mean, I know I'm dead. I keep my heart where it is. Sorry, I don't know. But anyway, here's the problem. The first is they want the data for themselves. The second problem is, if you remember, we talked about this. UK's public health is also in bed with Palantir. Now, if you did not watch this video, and a lot of you didn't, because I think maybe you thought it was deeply political. I know it has Orange Man Bad on the cover of it, and I know that's either you either love the guy but don't want to see the politics, or hate the guy, and so therefore I'm evil. Some of you might have hate watched it just to leave negative comments. The reality is this is not a political video at all. This just talks about Palantir and how the government, in response to an executive order, is tapping Palantir to organize all of the data. Well, this is something that has been debated in the courts in the UK government regarding health data, and indeed, this same UK body that says, hey, you shouldn't be using the commercial pregnancy apps because they use all the data. You should use ones run by our organization instead. And in response to that, you're giving all your data to Palantir, folks. Not cool. Not cool. But there is one other factor, and that's that even if these third-party organizations, if the third-party organizations here are building their own platforms, they're all doing that, then the problem here is that they're not actually building them themselves. They're going to be contracting it out. And the people they're contracting to, I promise you, are going to add the same crap back in. They don't even know any better. Half of these development firms that they're hiring to build these apps, they don't know how the inner workings work. They just know they got to add this in and this in and this in and this in and everything works. And then if they leave something out like the Google Play services that allows mass data tracking through the Google system, the app won't work. And then the same guys are like, we got to have it with all the tracking. We can't. We can't have it without all the tracking. Y'all don't know what you're doing without it. And so it's this double-edged sword that they'll get the exact same stuff because they seem to think, and a lot of people seem to think about this stuff, that you got all these evil companies and they're all just sitting in the backdoor deal. Oh, throw this track in there. That's not how it works, folks. There's these libraries. If you build these phone apps, there's just these libraries and you just add the libraries and the libraries have these trackers and the trackers feed back up to a big company. Nobody really knows what's going on inside the black box except the company that now owns all the data. Okay. And they're going to be adding the same stuff right back in. And so the reality is that there's been a lot of question about apps inside, like the apps that are run by governments doing this type of stuff. United States is probably the worst. I'd figure this is a little bit better in the EU, but this one here is an article from last November looking at the debate between the surveillance states questioning, can we use the data that these apps scrape up? And there's a debate among Secret Service. Secret Service has gone, hey, they agreed to it in the app that we can use the data for anything we want. So therefore, it's not a violation of the Fourth Amendment. But other people say, I don't know about this. So apparently there are a couple people in the government with a conscience. I think, though, they're losing the battle. And that's probably the challenge. So did you agree to be tracked? Apps secretly fuel government surveillance. So this is Locate X. It is powered by Babel Street. Oh, wonderful. All I need to hear, Babel Street. Yeah, Babylon. Yeah. Maybe this is the beast mark of the beast technology. I don't know. Evil Babylon. It's provided by Babel Street. All right. 666 Babel Street. Yeah. All right. Every time we download an app, we agree to terms we barely read, trusting any permissions we grant, like location, won't stretch beyond the app itself. But for years, agencies like the Secret Service, Customs and Border Protection, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement have been using location tracking tools that push these boundaries, raising critical questions about our privacy rights in the digital age. So they're talking here about Locate X. So it's important to note that the tool enables agents to pinpoint someone's movements with remarkable accuracy, all without a warrant. So according to 404 Media, arguments run over legality run deep. Internal Secret Service emails reveal a rift over the tool's use. Some officials argue that no warrant is necessary, claiming that people agreed to use the tracking simply by accepting the app terms of service. The agreement is a thin layer of consent buried in legal jargon most users skip over, yet it is the reason offered. Users opted in by granting location permissions. And what app are they talking about? Any app that collects data? You download Gas Buddy because for some reason Gas Buddy pays a guy like Matt Walsh $20,000 or something for an ad spot on his million subscriber channel, and I'm making up those numbers entirely. I have no idea what that is, but they paid him, otherwise he wouldn't be talking about it. So they're going to pay a massive content creator, one of thousands of content creators undoubtedly that they're paying, to have everybody say download the free app, and there's not a penny to be made anywhere. I wonder why that is. It's just these massive altruistic companies that put together these amazing apps that just do amazing things for the consumer totally for free. It's awesome, guys. We live in such an altruistic world. Not. Okay. It's all free because all of the data, by using that Gas Buddy. Remember that Gas Buddy app? You install it and you click the button and it'll like, ooh, there's the gas station nearby that's like 3 cents cheaper in gas. Guys, I live in a van full time and I can find the cheapest gas in an area without a phone app that tracks my location. Okay. And you have no excuse if you don't leave a 20-mile radius of your area. I got news for you. Gas in State College is $3.50. I have not paid more than $3.10 for gas the entire summer because there's one gas station along the route that I tend to travel a lot that's really cheap. And I just mysteriously time my drives around that to when I need to fill up with gas. And I didn't need an app to do it. But you install Gas Buddy or Life 360 or one of about 1,000 other apps on your phone, usually the free apps that give you amazing, cool. Look at this new app. It's funny. I actually had a guy. I pull in. I'm in I think I was just outside of Flagstaff, Arizona. I pull on into Flagstaff, Arizona. It's a Love's gas station, and I'm getting ready to pump my gas, and this guy comes running up. I thought I was getting mugged, right? This guy comes running up. Dude, you should use this app before you pump your gas. It's so cool. You just get this. It's free, and scan the data. I looked at him. I said, it's too expensive. He's like, it's free. I said, no, it's not. That thing collects all of your data. And what are they doing with that data? That data goes back to LexisNexis, who in turn sold it with your name, your location, traveling data, how fast you turn your wheel, how fast you slam on the brakes, sold it all to your insurance company. You don't even know it because you agree, just like the Secret Service is going over here. So that free app to save 5 cents on gas, I got news for you. I don't need to save 5 cents on gas. I value my privacy too much, okay? I just don't do it. But also, you know, if you pay cash, there's a number of gas stations in the country. You can get save 5 cents on gas just by paying that. And usually the places where you're getting cheaper gas because of you're using the app, those gas stations are usually higher price gas than all of the other gas stations. It's just, it feels cheaper to you because you're getting that discount for using the app. Yeah, if you didn't use the app and went to some other gas station, it'd be cheaper. So, Carpenter v. U.S. in 2018 established that accessing mobile location data without a warrant violates the Fourth Amendment, but when agents use Locate X, which is basically just analytics company that collects all these data points from, you know, Gas Buddy, etc., to follow someone and from some specific addresses, it hardly remains anonymous. Yet Babel Street, 666 Babel Street, argues otherwise. Their stance, since the data comes from users' agreement with apps terms, is entirely legal and requires no warrant. Locate X anonymizes data by using hashed identifiers, they say. Still, in demonstrations, journalists have been able to show the pinpoint location reveals patterns, where a person goes, where they live, where they likely are even at work. So it's all anonymous data, folks. We're finding the location. It's all anonymous data, but I know where you are every single night. I think that person lives there. Let's do a reverse record search and see who lives at that address. It's shocking. It's anonymized. I don't know who it is. It's just pointing to a house every night. It's like... And where does it? Locate X isn't tracking data from government contracts. The data is with regular apps, weather, news, social, fitness apps. All these apps collect the data and send it to the brokers. In the surveillance age, privacy is becoming a transaction, not a right, signaling the death of ethics and morality. Tools like Locate X blur the lines between safety and control. Our personal data, once private, is now commodified, used by agencies without consent or warrant. What happens when our movements are monitored, not by choice, but by a system that profits from our loss of privacy? That is a fundamental question we need to ask. And so this boils us down to, yes, we are still talking medical. I wanted to get into here just to illustrate how all of the fundamental tracking works. But there's a bigger risk in medical, and that is that millions of patients are possibly at risk due to poor passwords at healthcare organizations. There's literally nothing you can do. And I've experienced this doing web design work across the country. You know, people give me the silliest of passwords. Nearly every company I think I've ever worked with. I think I've only worked with one organization that used password managers, one organization that cared about like security to a hard state. It was the only organization. Everybody else, what's your password? The name of our product one. What? What? But it's easy to remember. What? Okay. So that's the thing going on here. Hygiene in hospitals and clinics is essential, but cyber hygiene, despite being equally important, is often being neglected. So what they did is they looked at a variety of different places and found that of all these clients, all of them relied on predictable, recycled, or default passwords to protect critical systems. So when the systems protecting patient data are guarded with passwords like 123456 or password with the A as an @ and the O is a 0, that's a critical failure in cybersecurity hygiene. So the problem is that all of these industries, in this case medical, is hoisting technology upon all of its people. But the people don't have a knowledge about security. The hospital may not demand it, or even worse, the hospital's like, you got to change your password every 3 months for security. That is the most ridiculous, old, outdated, and found to be wrong information, yet it's still used by hospitals, banks, and other critical infrastructure. It's weird. Like, why? Why are you guys doing that? So they reported a list of different passwords in here. These are the most commonly used. And the problem is, of course, when one break-in happens, it's enough to wreak havoc. The lateral movement can compromise entire networks, expose sensitive data, and result in different malware and ransomware infections. So as we engage in the medical communities, like if we engage in medical inside of our communities, we just go to the doctor anywhere, and they just are forced to put all the data up into the cloud, whatever else, and they're just password, protecting it with password. Our data's going to leak. We need to stop that. So these healthcare institutions lack clear password management policies on staff. That's true. And I kind of wanted to leave this point with a single point in line here. When you have a whole organization of a bunch of people there, you have a whole lot of critical steps to need to place. We are only as secure as the least secure person. You got to make sure that in an organization, security reigns high. So that really is the principle there. Maintain that security. If you have an organization, teach security. Always reevaluate security. I'm reevaluating security right now. It's getting easier to use passkeys on software levels. I'm looking at better MFA with more different security keys, more up-to-date security keys. These are all important things that we should all be doing. Sometimes we don't like that, and oftentimes when something works, we don't want to mess with it. I mean, I agree. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I'm still running, I think, 2 years version old of Open Media Vault, but it's also, it's also air gapped from the internet, so it's okay. That's really the case there. So now we want to move into our third main topic, our third and final large topic, and that is that the malware is inside the house. So we have to be smart. In fact, we have to be smarter, because it's getting better. So this one is one taking care of, bias fatigue and security fatigue. You land like every single page on the internet, land on Cloudflare would like to verify you're a human. I think Cloudflare has way too much control over the internet. You want to talk about a monopoly that needs broken up? Cloudflare might be it. Now, they have gotten a little on my good side over the years with some of the fact that Cloudflare took its extraordinary resources and completely decimated a copyright troll. I'll give them a little break, okay? If you didn't catch that weekly news roundup a couple years ago, you can probably look it up. Cloudflare decimated a copyright troll. It was beautiful. It was a work of art. It was a legal work of art. I loved it. It was great. But what's here is not actually Cloudflare. It's just the fact that Cloudflare is everywhere, and everything that's everywhere, like, Windows, is constantly a hack target. So these guys are duplicating Cloudflare's security pages almost to a T. So the sophisticated yet deceptively simple phishing technique is currently circulating using fake Cloudflare capture pages to infect users with malware. So what they're doing is you land on an infected page, and the reinfected page redirects you to a simple HTML page with some embedded JavaScript. And then, you look at it, and everything looks identical to every other Cloudflare page you've ever seen. Everything from the visual layout to the technical elements, like the Ray ID identifier, is convincingly replicated. So what happens then is the phishing site may be hosted on a domain that closely resembles a legitimate one or a real website that has been compromised. When a user lands on the page, they're prompted to click the text box to verify you are a human, which every bot in the internet is lying about that these days. But anyway, we'll go on. And then the next step appears routine and raises no suspicion. But what follows is the core of the scam. Users are guided through a set of instructions. Press Windows R. then Control V, and then enter. Of course, what that just did is that opened up the PowerShell terminal, pasted in a command that they had, which was a command to install malware, and hit enter, executes the code. But since you pasted that code in, it is not detected through anything, and it effectively installs the malware. They're using this for Steelec, Lumina, or Net Support Manager, basically a bunch of backdoor stuff. So QuickFix is a social engineering attack that tricks users into running malicious commands on their own devices, all under the guise of routine security checks. This exploit is what researchers refer to as verification fatigue, a user's tendency to click through security prompts without proper scrutiny, and the trick doesn't rely on exploiting software vulnerabilities, but rather on abusing trust and habitual behaviors. And that's what makes it so dangerous. So why is this in our topic on the malware inside the house? Because the malware is being installed by tools that are already on your system. They're exploiting things that are already on your system, in this case, PowerShell. With most people not even knowing what happens, you enter that thing and hit Control V. You don't even know what's going on, but you just executed remote code. And of course, the other one here, this is a neat one here because it's a variation of BadBox. This is BadBox 2.0. It's a botnet infecting millions of IoT devices worldwide. And the cool thing about this one is it's not an actual infection that happened. It was a dormant infection that was sold. So they basically put this botnet into a bunch of cheap crap IoT stuff on Amazon and other places. Basically cheap garbage IoT stuff. You know, you can't afford the Ring camera, so you put up the Chinese version of the Ring camera instead. All right. And so you get that kind of stuff going on. Yeah, that's a little on the scary side, ain't it? Right. But what happened is once these guys activated, they activated like good little soldiers, open up a bunch of backdoors into the network. And then what they did is they allowed people to they allowed the criminals in, and then were able to then compromise other devices attached to the network. So BadBox 2 botnet exploits IoT devices from home networks like streaming devices, projectors, infotainment systems, mostly made in China. Cybercriminals gain unauthorized access to home networks by either configuring the product with malicious software prior to users' purchase or infecting the device as it downloads required applications that contain the backdoor, usually during the setup process. So you buy the cheap version of something because, you know, you don't want to pay the extra $50 for the legitimate one. Either the code is already on it when it's delivered to you, or the setup process updates the software putting it on there. So once these compromised IoT devices are connected to home networks, the infected devices are susceptible to becoming part of BadBox 2 botnet and residential proxy servers known to be used for malicious activity. So it basically turns your house into a VPN for cybercriminals to do illegal stuff. So, you know, when you get that 5 a.m. no-knock warrant because they think you're downloading CSAM, yep, that would be the Chinese crap you just bought on Amazon. All right. Targets Android devices before purchase or malicious apps. That was the original BadBox. And that created backdoors for cybercriminals to exploit or sell access to the compromised home networks for illegal activity. And they said one of the identifiable things, I'll just read this whole thing. FBI urges public to check IoT devices for signs of compromise and disconnect any suspicious ones. Indicators include the presence of specific marketplaces where apps are downloaded, requests to disable Google Play Protect settings, generic TV streaming devices advertised as unlocked or capable of accessing free content, IoT devices advertised as unrecognizable brands, Android devices that are not Play Protect certified, and unexplained or suspicious internet traffic. Particularly if you don't have like a teenage son or something. So there you have it. So that is inside, but we do have one more from inside the house, and this one is particularly terrifying. Booking.com reservation system abused as cybercriminals steal from travelers. The problem here is that the scammer is inside of Booking.com's legitimate site and services. The scammers are actually taking advantage of the customer service tools to scam people. So after completing a legitimate booking and trading some communications with the hotel, Woodward received a separate message he believed came from the official Booking.com message system. It requested missing details and a prepayment. Logging into Booking.com directly rather than clicking any links, see, he's smart. The same message and the same thread appeared earlier as his earlier communications with the hotel. So, wow, looked good. Payment link looked official. It contained booking.com in the URL. Woodford didn't realize until after making the payment that the merchant's name was incorrect and the payment was fraudulent. All right, so what happened here is the hotel staff were tricked into installing malware using the fake CAPTCHAs we just saw. And in the malicious clipboard commands, these infectious, compromised hotel booking systems allowed hackers to manipulate guest communications and payments. So the hotel employee is scammed into doing the fake CAPTCHA, installing the command and control server, which now gives the hacker full access to their whole back-end system. So now they are in here. Hey, let's look for a customer who recently booked. Here's one. Let's go ahead and send Woodford a bill now. All right, so the hotel itself had been compromised. Travelers log into official verified websites and services only to receive malicious messages from cybercriminals who are secretly in control. These are fake representatives for real hotels using hotels' own messaging platforms to speak with customers. How terrifying. So cybercriminals are no longer just targeting guests. They're infiltrating hospitality systems themselves, turning trusted platforms into vectors for fraud. Like, what do you do in this situation? Like, I logged in, but I didn't pay this guy. Oh, sure you didn't. I was just reading some of those crazy people doing insane stuff with debt, and this lady took her 8 best friends on a whole tour through Disney for like 2 weeks and then came back and claimed the entire trip as fraud. I have a sneaky suspicion she's going to spend some time in jail. Okay. But what do you do? It's like, yeah, I legitimately went to book the hotel, but not that person. Like, what's going on? And then, of course, if you are the one that identifies this kind of stuff, you're like, hey, I think this is kind of scammy. Oh, convince them that they're the one that's hacked. Oh, no, you're not doing that. You're the problem, my friend. You're the problem, because they can never do anything. Their security is so top notch that their employees just were tricked into running a controlled, a Windows R Control V Enter command. Because, we are just as secure as the least secure person. Didn't we just learn that trick? I think we did, folks. I think we did. All right, there is our main topics. Let's go ahead and do about a 5 or so minute comment break, and then we will come back and do QuickLines and SillyVille, and then I will, of course, hang out tonight as long as there are comments to hang out. Let's see what we got. We're jumping over here onto Matrix first. Cheesecake's over there. Pfizer is killing people with their stupid jabby jabs. Of course, that's misinformation. Yep. Tom's not a body snatcher, so natural point and scream. There you go. Let's see. They don't want public discussion because they know what they're doing. Yep. Cody runs a Plex server. Yeah. That's my best buddy, Cody. He has a Plex server. Okay. I wouldn't recommend that either. Like, YouTube, turn off ad blockers and watch all those ads every 3 minutes. That's what you should do. All right. Patreon took down the video about you talking about community strike. Yes. 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 It was a couple months ago. I can't remember. But yeah, we got a community strike on Patreon for talking about a community strike on YouTube about the program called Hypnotics. What? All right. Yeah. Nonprofit medical research. This is nonprofit like OpenAI. I have no idea. It's run by one of the people related to the Google founding, so I'm not sure. Still look at these tracking apps. Just track it yourself. Yeah. Period trackers, glucose trackers. Yeah, believe it or not, we actually managed, the society managed periods for years without an app on your phone. I know it's kind of shocking, but that is actually the case. We got 17 watching over there on Rumble. Anchor's over there. Dan's over there. Hello, Dan. Ooh, drunken movie reviews. I don't remember seeing you before. Welcome, my friend. Wait, what? Crap. Now what do I do with all these leeches? They're good for fishing. Fishing. Anyway, welcome, Drunken Movie Review. We got 13 watching on Odyssey, wherever on Odyssey this. Let's see. We got Ivan's over there. We got Billy Bop. Eventually, Linux content on YouTube is going to be flagged as extremist. Yeah. YouTube reinstated James Corbett's channel, but James is being very reluctant posting stuff over there. Yeah, I did see that, actually. Back in the Koofy times, pardon me, let me fix that. Back in the Koofy times, I actually really used to like watching the Corbin Report on Saturday night. I'd break that isolation, go through a drive-through, usually grab like Taco Bell or McDonald's or something, go back to my house and watch some Corbin Report. And then he was banned. Anyway, let's see. Many attempts to passively give them his opinion. Yeah. For me, I just close the account and give the tubies the middle finger. Yeah. Simply not use the account any longer. At least reduce my content bare minimum. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Like, here's the funny thing. I did not use an ad blocker on YouTube for years. The only thing that got me to think about it was when they started interrupting my content. If you're interrupting my flow of thought to sell me something, even an internal sponsored video, 9 out of 10 times, if I'm watching just a video and the creator runs a sponsored spot, I'll just close the video. I'm done. I am done being marketed to. Okay, here's a tip. If I'm looking for something, make sure you have a good website and good SEO, and I can find your product. When I'm looking for it, I'll find you. And then I will do my due diligence. I will evaluate it. I will look for reviews. I will do my business, and booyah. There you go. Timu, free spyware. Hello, Fresh Vintage. Just jumped in over on YouTube, which I will get to in just a moment. Live in reality. One goes to a different source. One gets lost. They don't understand they're consuming. Yep. And we got 57 watching on ZTubies. Let's see what we got up here. We got Anchorage over there. Greetings. The Bandhammer's in the house. Commodore fan. Great day. As Spaceballs 2 is just announced with a teaser trailer with Mick Moranis set to play Dark Helmet again. Oh, boy. May the Schwartz be with you. All right. 2027 release date. Theaters only. Nice. Luis Tully has had to return as well. How old Mel Brooks is? Probably his last movie. Yeah. He can probably legitimately play yogurt now without any face makeup. All right. Besides, Rick's kids have grown up. Let's see. The Ghostbusters film in active production that we know of. Let's see. Are they doing another good Ghostbusters, or are they giving us more of that woke crap? Most did some voice acting, other appearances over the years. Talk about Spaceballs 2 coming out in 2027. Let's see. Apparently found more money so they can have a second movie. Oh boy. Didn't they already title it Spaceballs 2 the search for more money or something? What was that advertisement that Yogurt had in there? May the Schwartz be with you as you comb the desert to find nothing while sipping your Mr. Coffee and staring at the radar. The beeps, was it the beeps, the bleeps, and the creeps? The what, and the what? All right, surprised how old the movie was. Yeah, just dropped down to 720p on Starlink of DB. Yeah, I'll probably do another test next week. Maybe, I don't know. Next week's going to be insane. I'll do another test sometime soon without Jitsi running and see how that works. I think I'll try using my Hollyland mic on my desk, see how it works out. Yeah, I mean, I still had to run it through a USB interface. So, and crank up the decibels. But, yeah, give it a try. See what you think. Kid2610, greetings to you. Chainsaw Cowboy. All right. Do you accept any type of crypto donations? Wanted to send Monero, but I couldn't find a way. I do have LibrePay over there. I think that does. But I don't actually get into crypto stuff. At least too big of a digital footprint. I don't know. But I think LibrePay can take it, but I have no idea. No content moderators. It's all computers and AI now. Yeah, that's a problem. Yep. Tom talking Xord and XLibDrummy. I'm not really discussing that today. I just got a chance to evaluate some of that stuff. Just this morning. So I'll work on some stuff for that. Discovered an image for hosting and back up my pictures. Pretty good. Okay. Notice Malware added an ad filter to the VPN. It's working pretty good along with uBlock. There you go. Still going on about 23andMe like it's beating a dead horse now. Well, it's back in the news again. Self-host that way, Nextcloud and Jellyfin there. Yep. Mama Susan Sister, what? Should have called it 23andMe. Yeah, meme. 23 and meme. Dank memes. All right. This point is quite possible. Let's see. YouTube has been messing with browsers with ad blockers again recently. Slow page loading, video buffering. Oh, yeah. I've seen some of that. I've not seen the pop-ups yelling at you, but I have actually seen a lot of the lags. I've seen a lot of that stuff. Yeah. Just create an app to store all the data locally, like SQLite database. Have the option to export it, something like CSV. There you go. Say EULA roofing is a point here. Yes, indeed. Haven't used Gas Buddy in years. Live in a small town. All the gas stations are on the same road here. It's like the few cents difference in price. Yeah. Hello, King Knight of Light. How are you doing? Here too. Let's rack it up. Howdy from Switzerland. Greetings. I think we are going to be talking about Switzerland very shortly here, my friend. Missed 40 minutes before I forgot to sleep. Uh-oh. All right. Missed 40 minutes before I get to sleep. Bye. All right. I worked for a medical office, and they put all the passwords in a Google Doc, and everyone had access to it. Lord help us. Bad box. No. I'll keep my box 64. If it's from Temu and it connects to the internet, be warned. Amen to that. Okay, it seems that Red Hat plans Wayland is backfiring on them. Yeah, I mean, I will probably take a middle-of-the-road appointment on these because I understand both views. Because if you look at it, it's not as simple as, oh, he's trying to keep XOR alive. Ban that guy quickly. It wasn't as simple as that. It was that a lot of the patches he was pushing out had fundamental regressions. And that was a problem. But of course, that is a problem because nobody else is actually helping. So it was an interesting discussion. That's not a clear-cut debate. And I'm not going to take a specific view going, oh my, I've got to do this. And I just realized that I have been on comments for almost 10 minutes now, and I should not be on comments for 10 minutes. So we're going to go right on back to content, and I'm going to come back over here, and we will pick back up with QuickLines right now. So, a shopper is put on the facial ID watch list after a dispute over 39 pence of paracetamol at a Home Bargains in the UK. So this is really funny because, of course, London itself is surveillance capital of the world. So, of course, every store has to, like, compete with the government and themselves be, surveillance capitalists. So there is a company here, and it's called FaceWatch. And what FaceWatch does is they are an organization that basically they'll do facial recognition, and they'll keep a database of banned people. Now, I didn't see if this was if this is a system where like each store has their own, or if there's a master database. I didn't catch that. Of course, here in the United States, some of the clubbers, the club organizations, there's a few different services now that have a unified database. So you basically go and scan your ID, and that's how you get in. But if you have a problem and are thrown out of one club, you can't get into any other club that uses that system. It's quite dystopian. So I don't know if this organization of FaceWatch works like that, or if each FaceWatch instance is local to that store. But she learned of her entry on the FaceWatch database as a banned customer when a member of the staff in the store in Grove Farm Retail Park and Chadwell Health asked her to leave and directed her attention to a FaceWatch sign. So FaceWatch has a private database of known offenders that triggers an alert to staff when a match is made by the facial recognition software. So effectively, just to get by this, she basically always has this stuff with her, and basically compulsively buys it, and it's super cheap. It's like less than £1, a container of this. And so there was a question about the container she had with her. Did she steal it or did she buy it? And again, this thing is super small. So, of course, because she says she had this item with her, the store says, we don't really know, and we're not going to, you have to pay for it, and, whatever else. She kind of gets a little nervous or whatever else and walks out of the store. So they add her to the FaceWatch software. So she was accused by the staff of theft, had her bag searched, had her own personal paracetamol, which she carries regularly, was confiscated. She denied taking the compound, but was in a rush, so she left the shop and thought nothing of it, of course, until she came back. So she later discovered that based solely on the disputed and minor allegations, Home Bargains has added her biometric data to FaceWatch watch list. Now, the problem is that ISO separately investigated FaceWatch in 2023 and asked for a series of changes. According to the new complaint, the investigation resulted in FaceWatch being required to focus on repeat offenders or individuals committing significant offenses. So a single person with a disputed 23 pence of a compound certainly would not qualify under either of those. And so she is actually recruiting government government and legal help to get cleared of this. She says the government must urgently step in and stop retailers from subjecting shoppers to Orwellian and discriminatory technology. Unfortunately, this is the UK. It is the definition of Orwellian. So good luck with that one. You will need it. Over there in Switzerland, it may no longer be a privacy safe haven for long as Switzerland drifts toward a surveillance state due to a new controversial law. Now, I did mention this briefly before. There was a little bit more in this, so we'll just talk about it here. So there's a new surveillance plan that could force encrypted service providers to build backdoors into their offerings, threatening privacy for everyone who uses Swiss-based digital services. It's Proton Mail, like Proton itself, Proton Mail, Proton VPN, the Proton suite of software is probably the most common example. The problem is that this is not a change in the law that goes on a vote in Parliament. So it's not like you can go to your elected representatives and say, hey, this is a serious problem. And the elected representatives, if they think this is a serious problem, they still don't have any control over it. It could be ratified without much public disclosure. If enacted, the private encrypted email and messaging platforms like Proton and Threema and others could be seriously affected. It also might require users to hand over personal information like phone numbers or an official ID, making anonymous signups nearly impossible. The organization would also be required to hand over data in plain text when requested by it. And so we are going to see the erosion. If we see Switzerland fall into a surveillance state, guys, just give up on the world. It's over. Just welcome in the Antichrist, I guess. I don't know. Samsung teams up with Glance to use your face in AI-generated lock screen ads. I mean, really. The only saving grace right now, this is opt-in. All right. So on an average day, you might unlock or look at your phone dozens of times, which makes the lock screen a hot property for advertising. Oh, wonderful. Boom! Would you like to see the ads? No, I'd like to call 911. Leave me alone. All right. On an average day, you might unlock the phone dozens of times, makes it a prime spot for advertising. So Glance is a company that has been taking advantage over lock screen ads for a long time, but now it's stepping up with AI shopping. So AI shopping experience uses selfies to create custom fashion ads. So the Glance AI feature had all that, but it's an unsettling face stealing layer to the experience. So Samsung, Motorola, and others already have this bundled in. Now the new version is AI operated, and it is, of course, opt-in. So the idea is when you opt in to use this, which is already pre-installed in your phone, then you're going to give it your pictures and a bunch of permission. And when you go to log into your phone, before getting to your actual phone, you're actually going to see advertisements for you wearing various fashion products. Wonderful. So Glance will have you take a selfie and provide some basic body type details. Google Gemini and Imagine to create fashion tailored ads to you. I mean, why stop there? Why not get a picture of you in different ways, and then you'll open it up and there'll be you drinking a bottle of Coke. Oh, it's so cool, you know. Come on, there's other ways to use this other than fashion. What are you guys doing? Naturally, you'll be able to buy the looks chosen for you with a tap, which fills Glance's coffers. By using the service, you agree to some tracking, including your general location, and some of the data will be shared with your partner. So once again, we have a phone application, which is asking for location. Let me ask you this question. Under what circumstance does an AI-generated image need your location to show you an ad? It doesn't. This is just a way to get your location data. Some of the data will be shared with partners, like the federal government. Wonderful. Glance says it will retain the biometric data used to create your digital avatar for 12 months from your last interaction with the service or until you manually delete your account. Wonderful. So there you go, guys. If you have a Samsung phone, you can turn on the AI auto-generated lock screen ads. If you do, please take a trip to the next rocket being shot into the center of the sun. I don't want your type on the earth. All right. This one here is fascinating. A CPU-level ransomware can bypass, quote, bypass every freaking traditional technology we have out there, end quote. New firmware-based attacks could usher in a new era of unavoidable ransomware. How wonderful. So Rapid7's Christian Beek has written a proof of concept code for ransomware that can attack your CPU and warns of future threats that could lock your drive until a ransom is paid. The attack would circumvent most traditional forms of ransomware detection. So the idea here is with the microcode patching and things like that, they can get in and they can push out a microcode which stays persistent in the processor itself. According to the report, he has indeed written a proof of concept code for ransomware that can hide in the CPU. Reassuringly, he promises they won't release it. I hope he's noble. I am working on a POC where the ransomware installs itself inside the UEFI, so even after reinstalling Windows, the encryption remains. We can trigger encryption before the OS even loads. No antivirus can detect this. How wonderful. He also bemoaned how many ransomware breaches were underpinned by the high-risk vulnerabilities, weak passwords, lack of authentication, and more. So there you have it, guys. Potential CPU-level ransomware that can even survive a reinstall. Isn't that great? And the EU challenges Google and Cloudflare with its very own DNS resolver that can filter dangerous traffic. So, of course, we did talk a little bit about the DNS stuff. Was it last week's show? I think we talked about this. And now the EU is making their own DNS resolver. This is particularly dangerous, being as that they would really like to use DNS to control sites that you are and are not allowed to look for. This could be the precursor to that. They're starting out with this, very altruistic way of doing it. DNS for EU. Isn't that a vomitous name? In fact, where's my barf bag? DNS for EU. Ugh. Yikes. Someone needs fired for coming up with that name. European Union has officially unveiled its very own DNS resolver, which promises to strengthen privacy and security for EU citizens, government organizations, and telecom providers across the bloc. Now, reminder, the DNS provider is it's basically the phone book of the internet. If you go to a domain, let's just say google.com, you go to that domain, the DNS resolver looks up google.com and says, this is where I need to route you to, and it sends you to the appropriate place. Well, with a DNS resolver, you can control where those are. And so if you don't want somebody to go to, some PH type site, you can just go PH 127001, and any request going to PH will fizzle through that DNS resolver. That's why it's so powerful for doing things like the Great Firewall of China, where you can block entire websites with a simple script and just not let people inside your country use anything but your own DNS resolver, which EU has said, hey, we kind of like that approach. But this they are saying is not the one. But this is still kind of terrifying. So this isn't EU's own... This isn't only an EU-developed DNS, though. DNS for EU comes with built-in filters against malicious domains like those hosting malware, phishing, or other cybersecurity threats. And don't worry, it will very soon require blocking of everything that they want to block. The home user version also includes the possibility to block ads and/or adult content. All right, so there's a home user version and there is a company user version. They say its usage remains voluntary. Some privacy experts warn against potential issues around content filtering and privacy. And in fact, DNS is a very good way of doing this. The Starlink dish, for example, uses Cloudflare's DNS route. It's 1.1.1.1. But with a simple button on the app, I can actually turn on the adult website filters. So if Starlink is my internet for my home and I turn that on, anybody in my house can't access those websites without finding some very difficult way to circumvent where our internet is routing. It's still possible, yes, but it will make it a lot harder to find those. You're not going to accidentally land on such sites. This whole voluntary thing is good, but of course that can be rescinded. It could be forced on everybody's device. It could be forced on every phone. And then if that were to ever happen, they have full control of everything that you have. The home users version is a public and free DNS resolver that comes with the option to add filters to block ads, malware, adult content, and all of these, or none. There is also a dedicated version for government entities and telecom providers that operate within the European Union. So the experts, though, are a little tight over this. They say the ability to filter unwanted content has sparked concerns since its inception. This is not intrinsically a problem because every one of your main DNS resolvers allows you to do this. Cloudflare allows you to do this. Of course, I talked about NextDNS, which is what I use. I intentionally turn on a lot of aggressive filtering for mine. So there's a lot of those types of things there. The problem is that if they force this to be used, they could force any site to redirect to anywhere they want for any reason they want. They could even force it to a site, to a local government site that will capture the URL you're going to, make a log that you went to that site tied to your IP, and then send you to the site. So you'd still land on the site, but they could literally do this to keep a log of what every single person in their network platform is looking at. They could literally do it. It is technically possible, and it is not complicated. Of course, I'm not alleging that they are doing that. I'm just saying it's technically possible from an organization that really wants to block a lot of things by their own admission. It remains to be seen how the operator will react to demands for filtering using government-sponsored service can be a risk because law enforcement and intelligence agencies wishes. Yes. They also know that DNS for EU lacks a no-log policy. In other words, there is no no-log policy, so they could very well be logging everything that goes through it. As per the DNS for EU policy issued June 1st, 2025, the service collects a limited number of DNS query data and IP addresses, so they are collecting some data at least. The latter mostly anonymized directly to the DNS resolver. How wonderful. Godspeed to you. Also, Godspeed to you if you are still looking for that elusive printer that is just a printer these days. Good luck with that. Epson now bows to the insanity. First smartphones, now printers. Epson launches a subscription where you pay just $7.99 to rent the printer and print 50 pages every month. So it doesn't sound horrible, but you know, you basically get a printer. It's $7.99 per month. That's no big deal. Problem is, after 10 months, that's $79.90 a month. How much is a printer these days? They're pretty cheap. Unless you need something deeply weird, I mean, you can get printers for a fraction of this cost. Of course, then we have to deal with the ink. Now, they're, of course, like, you know, come on, man. You just use this service here. You don't need to own that printer. We'll maintain it all. Of course, if you stop paying, you have to send the printer back. And if they allege there's any damage, well, you're going to have to pay for the printer. Epson has introduced a new way for users to access printing through a subscription model closely resembles how people already pay for phones or streaming services. Model eliminates the need for upfront costs, making it easier to start printing without a large initial purchase. A large initial purchase of like $50. I guess for a society that wants to put their DoorDash on Klarna, $50 is a big deal. I mean, just saying. But, you know, the model eliminates the need for upfront costs, make it easier to start printing without a large initial purchase. The company sends the printer and keeps track of the ink levels remotely, delivering new ink before it runs out. As you might expect, early cancellation fees apply if a user leaves before the minimum period is up, although Epson does offer a 4-day cancellation window at the start, 14-day. To keep everything running smoothly, the printer needs to stay connected to the internet, allowing firmware updates and ink tracking, probably sending copies of what you're printing over there too, but you never know. If a customer chooses to end the plan, the printer must be returned in good condition to avoid penalty. Of course, if you're like, yeah, I kind of lost the printer, let me just, just pay for it, you still can't use it because that thing's tied to this internet service plan. So it would be a giant paperweight. So let's say I use the service for a whopping 2 years. All right, so I'm going to say I have $7.99, and I'm going to use this printer for 2 years. So that's 24 months. I will have now just paid $191.76. Now, can I get a printer with its ink for less than that for over 2 years? Probably. But then if the printer dies or something happens to it, or even they allege something happens to it, the UPS guy turning it back to them, despite I packed it perfectly, UPS guy lobbed it on over the fence as they're wanting to do from time to time, then the printer's damaged. They charge you the full amount for the printer, so then you're going to probably have to pay another $100 for it, and then you won't get it back, and then if you could keep it under alleging it's broken, it still won't be able to print because you still have to have the subscription service in order to run it. It's almost 2030, folks. You will own nothing, and you will be happy about that. Don't do this. Buy a printer, buy some ink, and keep that crap off the internet. Yikes. Oh, I love it when some of these crazy cities defile themselves. Microsoft Build says goodbye to Seattle. Drugs, crime, and homelessness are allegedly to blame. So homelessness, drug use, and criminal activity were cited in an internal Microsoft email when explaining the move. So the tech giant had reportedly canceled the hold of the convention center used for all future years. So they used to have a standing order. This is our convention center from these dates to these dates for our Build conference. And they canceled the contract. The change is reportedly due to a rise in homelessness, drug use, and criminal activity, according to Seattle Medium. An email seen by the outlet indicated the attendee experience in the city led to Microsoft's decision. You mean people didn't want to go to Seattle to go to Microsoft content to be mugged or trip over a heroin needle in the streets? Tell me it isn't so. Customers cited the general uncleanliness of the streets, visible drug use, and the presence of unhoused individuals, including a recurring tent at the Arch Tunnel. How wonderful. So moving away from Seattle will result in a significant loss of booked rooms and spending in the area. The internal email stated 4,500 attendees were expected in Build 2026. So that's, of course, next year's conference. That's 4,500. That's a lot of revenue loss for the city because they just want to have compassion and let drug users continue to abuse drugs in the streets. That's deeply compassionate, I hear. Neither Microsoft statements nor an internal email mentioned protests as a factor in the decisions. It's worth noting that the last two Microsoft events have been affected by demonstrations. Protesters interrupted Build 2025 3 times. All those protesters centered around Microsoft's cloud contracts with the Israeli government. Okay. All right. And on to our last story here in QuickLines. Amazon is testing humanoid robots to deliver packages. Well, there go the rest of them jobs. So they're testing these guys out. They have a humanoid park in the U.S. to try and figure out which robots could spring out of the vans. So the current idea here isn't to completely replace the delivery vans. Basically, the human driver gets there, and in many instances, the human driver would still deliver. But if there's a place where the Amazon van stops and there's 2 different stops, the robot would be deployed to deliver one package while the human would go and deploy the second package. So the information reported the robots could eventually take the jobs of delivery workers. It's developing the artificial intelligence software that would power the robots, but still use the hardware developed by the other companies. The company hoping the robots will be able to travel in Amazon's Rivian vans and make deliveries from them. So if Amazon restricts the scope, which means using relatively clear driveways as a standard layouts of doors and surroundings, then the risk will be simple. As the environments become more complex and variable, the others enter the picture, such as pets, small children. Problems become less hard. I just wonder if they're going to program the robots to hold the bottles. That's my thought. I don't know. Let me know what you think about all of those comments down below. We are going to, of course, wrap up in a couple of articles in SillyVille. So let's jump on over to SillyVille, see what's going on in the silly world. First up, typing with one hand. This brilliant open source keyboard makes it easy. Where's that one-handed drummer from Leopard, right? Is this his keyboard now? Program this guy into his drum set. There you go, right? You guys remember what has 7 arms and sucks? Def Leppard. I like that joke, even though I kind of like the band, but, at least some of their songs. Traditional keyboard layouts aren't designed with everyone in mind, especially if you have mobility impairments or just need to use one hand. For many, such setups create unnecessary barriers and frustration. So this is the one-handed keyboard. So basically you have your layer, and you can actually put the trackball on either side of it. And then there's, of course, keyboard layers and the layout. 8 different designs distributed across 3 keyboard variants. So you can see there's a right-handed and a left-handed version of this, so that's actually pretty nice. And then there's documentation and information if you want to build your own. So there you go. There is a one-handed keyboard for all of your one-handed typing needs. And U.S. air traffic control still runs on Windows 95 and floppy disks, and this is probably why it's still as robust today. Can you imagine, like, they're going to push out this big contract, everyone's going to get on these, and then giant malware is going to get in there and every plane's going to fall out of the skies all at once. Yeah. Maybe we should stick to Windows 95 and floppy disks. Nobody knows how to hack that crap. Anyway, whole idea is to replace them. No more floppy disks or paper strips. The most important infrastructure project we've had in this country for decades. Of course, I am being facetious. Yes, these should be updated with modern software, modern hardware. But please, for the love, air gap these. Don't put these on the internet. That's all we need. Some air traffic controller running a CAPTCHA. Some hacker gets involved in there. Ooh, this is fun. Watch this. Gonna route planes into each other. Land 6 planes simultaneously on the same runway. This is going to be neat. You know, air gap that crap, guys. Air gap it. Anyway, most important infrastructure project we've had in the country in decades. Apparently, it's been decades. It's been, what, 3 decades? That's Windows 95. Some controllers currently use paper strips to track aircraft movements and transfer data between systems using floppy disks, while their computers run Microsoft's Windows 95 operating system, which launched in 1995. By the way, I saw on Twitter, somebody had a floppy disk, and a young kid's like, oh, that's cool. You 3D printed the save icon. Oh. Feeling old yet? Right. While vintage systems may have inadvertently protected air traffic control from widespread outages like CrowdStrike incident that disrupted modern computer systems globally, the agency officials say 51 of the FAA's 138 systems are unsustainable due to outdated functionality and lack of spare parts. You mean you can't get parts for a 1995 computer anymore? Where are you going? Just call like 8-Bit Guy. I'm sure he'll hook you up with something, right? There you go. This one's neat. Remember that whole push for STEM and learn to code? Learn to code, push to STEM. Learn to code backfires spectacularly. Computer science majors suddenly have sky-high unemployment. AI took all their jobs. Shocker. All those kids were told to learn to code to have graduated to a job market dominated by AI. You're anywhere in the world of education in the 2010s, the one thing you heard over and 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 over was STEM, 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 STEM. I was a college professor in that time. Oh boy. Yeah, STEM was everywhere. So schools, educational institutions, expert class were pushing science, technology, engineering, mathematics systems because computers and coding were the future. And here's where we are now. Those children have graduated from college. We were told this generation that computer program is the thing that mattered. By the time they got out of college, all the jobs were taken by AI. So learn to code backfires spectacularly. Comp sci majors suddenly have sky-high unemployment. So latest labor market report, New York Federal Reserve found recent computer science grads dealing with a whopping 6.1% unemployment rate. Those who majored in computer engineering, which is similar, if not more specialized, are faring even worse, with 7.5% of recent graduates remaining jobless. How wonderful. This is why I stopped telling people to go to college unless you absolutely have to for what you want to do. So they created a gold rush mentality around coding right as the gold ran out. They reference, talk about this. So there you have it, guys. There you have it. Learn to code so AI can take all your jobs. There you go. And not to be outdone, we have to end on this one here because, of course, LA is burning. 6 months ago, like we were dealing with the forest fires around LA, and it says natural disaster, and we got to figure it out. And who started these fires? And now that literally people are praising the people starting fires downtown. But none of that would get it onto our weekly news roundup. It's got to be tech related to land on a weekly news roundup. So, of course, Waymo gets involved. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's see if Google pulls out of LA. LA rioters start calling Waymo cars to set them on fire as part of the protest against deportations. Okay. Maybe a whole bunch of people waving foreign flags while they're burning down our cars and destroying our cities. Maybe they're engaging in war. I don't know. It is fiery, but mostly peaceful, I gotta say. Woo! There you go, guys. It's very, very peaceful. Very peaceful protesting. These are all Waymo cars. I think some people are reporting these are police cars. No, these are Waymo cars. These are Waymo cars. With all these Mexican flags. How wonderful. I feel like our country's being invaded. Here's somebody lighting a fire inside of a Waymo. Look at that. They're burning an American flag inside the Waymo and now taking a bunch of pictures and stuff. And then some fat dude's going to be standing up there. There you go, folks. There you go. Yep. So that's a Waymo car. Somebody called the Waymo. The Waymo's like, I'm here to pick you and drive you somewhere. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Like, just... Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what he's pouring on top of that. Knowing the decency of this crowd, it's probably a bottle of his own pee, but you never know. Here's more wonderful Waymo cars. That's that window's getting Waymoed. All right. Peaceful. Very, very peaceful. Very peaceful indeed. Very peaceful indeed. There you go. It's like I said, it's peaceful. Mostly fiery, mostly peaceful, and yeah, wonderful. So there you go. There's our. I'm supposed to be silly. What's going on here? I don't know. Well, anyway, there is our SillyVille. We got to go ahead and rustle up a beast or two, and we'll get the beasts rustled up, and then once the beasts are rustled up, then we will go ahead and it looks like my camera fell over there too. We'll hit comments until we run out of comments. Hey, kitties. Kitties. Who wants some kitty treats? Wants some kitty treats? Come here, kitty. Come here, kitty. Yep. Come on, kitty. Come for kitty treats. Come on. Come for kitty treats. Oh, yeah. You want to say hi to people? Want to say hi? Want to say hi? Say hi. Say hi. She's like, I'm not saying hi. I'm not saying hi to nothing. Nothing, honey. Come on, kitty. Yeah. I guess your brother didn't want it, so we'll just give him some later on. All right, so that will conclude the primary line of our show. We are going to come out and read some comments until we run out of comments. So you are, if you're just here for the news, catch you later. If you're here for the whole thing, we'll go ahead and look at some comments. I'm going to pick up on YouTube where I left off, and we'll wrap back around and do other things as well. Night of Light greetings. Just saw that Israel attacking Iran right now. Oh, boy. Let's hope Trump doesn't drag into the war. I'm not. He's not really big into going to war, so I'd be surprised. Timu Tech equals free spyware. Yes, indeed. The ban hammer is here. Total OS today. Greetings. What's in your trunk, Toss? Oh, of course, the YouTube just did that thing on me. So, just called Sicily. Wayland is in the trunk. Sweet. Wayland is in the trunk. It's going down. All right. Mel Brooks is 98. All right. Probably will be a CGI yogurt with him doing some voiceover work. There you go. Yeah, probably. Don't mind the ads on YouTube when I'm watching music production or code tutorials. Just being forced to watch an ad before being able to join a live stream, though, that's annoying. Yeah. Christopher Jones, greetings. You had to turn off malware ad blocker to be able to use YouTube. No video would ever load. Really? Whenever Sweden is mentioned, I just get an image of the Swedish chef in my head. There you go. What is wrong with London? I have no idea. What is wrong with London? Everything. Mostly just that it's in England. All right. And continue learning NeoVim. Model editing makes a lot of sense to me. Seems easy to understand, even though it's first time interacting with that method. There you go. London going for the dystopian speed run, eh? Yep. Wales don't have any legal option right now. Just asked to leave UK like Scotland do. Another reason to avoid Samsung, as if exploding phones weren't enough. So glad I rooted mine and uninstalled that Samsung garbage. Yep. Hey, brother, beard's looking sharp, but thank you. Yeah, it's I'm just keeping it trimmed. When it gets too long, it's just too painful. But keeping it trimmed, it works. My clippers trim it nice. So I just edged it out a little bit this afternoon, just a little bit before the show. So marketing does need your location and know products in your area, but it's 100% invasion of privacy. Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, this is all internet marketing. It's selling you stuff from like Amazon and their partners. They just want your firstborn to log in. There you go. Yep. Not to pull any away from this channel, but I have a couple videos you may find interesting. There you go. All right. Things like this is making me want to offline my main system and use cheap throwaway systems for my internet working. Long story, but malware on my firmware. Why I had to use the BIOS tools in Windows. Long story. I've had to isolated for 6 months. Decided to do or die writing UEFI. First DNS. Next great ice wall for the EU. Yep. UK even made looking at Pirate Bay a criminal offense with prison time and actually charged and convicted people just for accessing it. Yikes. EU DNS resolver, time to download all the stuff you need offline now. Yep. Sent you an email about doing a video offline. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look through it all. Like I saw it, I looked briefly at it. I didn't get a chance to sift through everything. Yep. UK went harder than anything. All ISPs are required by law to monitor what websites and services you access and report to the government and law enforcement. Yep. Matter of time before typing this type of censorship happens, offline internet will have it. Yep. Yeah, that's the thing. We need to have ways in place. If I want to print without buying a printer, is there such a thing as staples in libraries? Yep. Can you 3D print a printing press? Probably. Expect Pi-hole to block any log retrieval. My printer was $20, but the new ink is $50 for the 2 cartridges. Black, white color, they get you on the ink. Yep. $20 HP printer at Walmart with a scanner even works well, but HP is intrusive. Yep. You will own nothing. That's right. You will. But HP printer, paid for the service, then cancel the service. Now it's just a paperweight unless I pay the subscription again and backdated payment. And backdated payments? Lord help us. So you paid for a printer that you can't print with unless you pay them a bunch of money for a time you didn't use the printer to print. Somebody at HP needs to go to jail or something. I don't know. Let's see. Never go back to that heck hole. Let's see. Lane's Tales. Yeah. Let's see. Sorry, I don't see him here. My sister came over. Oh, man, that's no problem, man. Talk to your sister, dude. That's cool. Honest, if a dog robot delivers my package, that would be really cute. There you go. Oh. Keyboard would be useful for some gamers. Yep. Need a keyboard for 2-finger typing. Yep. One-handed keyboard. Def Leppard still touring, man, grandpas. I saw Kingston Trio when they were still alive in the 90s. They come out and were in walkers. They're playing their banjo. Somebody in the audience says, play Desert Pete. They look at each other. We don't remember that one. Oh, God. Good song, though. Desert Pete. Good song, yeah. Anyway, look up Frog Pad for left or right hands. No longer made, but they go for a lot of money used. What if there are updates using CDs? Here, one of the airlines is running Windows 3.1 and survived when Cloudflare mishap. Yes, that is true. One of the airlines did survive it because they used such old software. I was born old. There you go. People just forget the QWERTY layout was developed for typewriters because people would jam up the typists needed to be slowed down. I'm ancient. 5.25. Yep. Let's see. Got a whole closet full of stuff that could run Windows 95. Hey, you sell them to the government for parts. Use an Atari 800. Yeah. How useful college was? I took it off my resume and started getting interviews. There you go. Yep. There you go. Sometimes I wonder, you know. And that's the thing about the education system in America is this screwed up, okay? So, like when I was done doing teaching, and I was just getting the web design stuff off the road, but I needed to make just enough money to cover my basic expenses. So I see a lab tech position is open in the local hospital. So I apply for it. And they call me up and said, we would love to hire you. We think you'd be a great fit. But you do not have a lab tech certification. Okay? So this is how backwards American education is. I have a PhD in biomedical research. Okay, you can give me a sample, and these are all things I did in the course of my graduate work. We did protein gels, and DNA gels. Our lab worked with more radiation than any other single lab on campus, so I've experience with radioactive materials. We did our own tissue culture, one of only like 3 or 4 labs on campus that did tissue cultures. We did tissue cultures and bacterial cultures. We did cytosolic extractions. We did real-time PCR, which was cutting edge at that time. We paid like $10,000 or $20,000 for a real-time PCR machine. Regular PCRs, of course, that's child's play compared to what we did. Basically, we had an entire realm of things. And the entire idea of a PhD in a field is the top of the field. So I have the equivalent of the top of the field in biomedical research. And a hospital can't hire me to run lab tests. That is how screwed up the American system is. And that is what told me you never go to college until you know exactly what you want to do. It is a waste of your time. It is a waste of your money. Go learn what you need to do. And if you really want to be a lab technician, guess what? A lab tech certification is like, I think it's a 1-year program, maybe, if that's what you want to do. But I got news for you. If you have a PhD in a lab-related field, it should completely qualify for any lab tech position. And if I want to go and work at a hospital for what somebody might consider an underpayment, I didn't need a $70,000 a year salary. I needed enough to pay my house payment. But I couldn't get it because of the backwards requirement for stupid certifications in the stupid country, which is like, go to college. It's going to be all you need. I have the highest field in medical. You can't work here. You don't have a 1-year certification. A 1-year cert? Are you kidding me? I can take that simple cell vial there. I can rewrite your protocols to make them far more efficient and cheaper. I can use the same sample, do a cytosolic extraction, extract the nuclei of the cells, do a DNS sample, do a protein sample, and analyze for anything you want. And with a toxicology background, I can look for tox strains too. And you won't hire me because I don't have a lab tech certification? Yep. Screw the education system. It ain't worth it. There's a rant. All right. What's wrong with deporting illegals? Nothing. I support that cause. QWERTY is the best, even one-handed, personally, for English-speaking countries at least. I consider that domestic terrorism. Yes, I do. When people are burning down private property in your country, waving another country's flags, I don't think the Marines should just be there protecting the building. I think the Marines should be in there taking out the violent terrorists. Yeah, that's what I think. Yep. At the very least, send in a bunch of Marines, beat the tar out of them all, and throw them all in handcuffs, and then give them their due process. There you go. If they don't fight back, they can just go in cuffs and get their due process in court. If they fight back, let the Marines handle it. Yep, that's my thought. These people are insane. Like, if you're like, ooh, I'm going to leave. This is so mad. You're getting ready to type that evil comment. Let me remind you of this. The current administration is not running into random stores and just grabbing a bunch of people that look illegal. They are literally targeting people who not only are here illegally, which is already a crime, but who have done violent crime on top of that. The entire LA riot thing happened because they came looking for 15 people who had rap sheets including murder, R words and little people R words. That is literally, and that caused a whole riot to break up because we're trying to get 15 people who are actual criminals outside of being here illegally off the streets. That is how stupid this group is. I'm sorry, but that's, if you think that's wrong, look it up. Like, look it up. It is insane. Oh boy. All right. At the very least, at least be peaceful. If you don't like it, just be peaceful. Like, burning down cars and looting buildings is not the peaceful way to do it. Anyway, okay. Get back on this. Probably got the name wrong, but they were like cassettes. They moved to floppies. Well, they had like the tape systems. Assaulting pacifists. Yep. Yeah, like the tapes for backups. The backup tapes. Yeah. Zip disks, basically one step above floppies. Yep, I had zips. They were fun. Zip disks, the click of death. Yes. The beasts escaped the van. No, they were up there sleeping. It's just one of them was really easy to grab. The other one was not as easy to grab. And he didn't apparently want to come up. So notice your logo on the border graphic. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's right up there and right down there. There's a logo on the graphic. Yep. Buy Brother Laser and separate Brother Scanner, and they will work well on Linux. Yep. Brother owns a small lab. His wife is a doctor, operates a machines pharmacy too. Brother would have definitely hired you if you had an opening. Yep. Yeah, I'm not looking anymore. Got that coding college issue. Never forget the job that requires 5 years in programming languages only existed for 3 years. Yeah. Then go to tech school, work in electronics. I knew more about the most college educated. Yeah, the funny thing is when I go into, I think I was finishing C++, and I was in the computer lab compiling a program I wrote in Visual Basic to help me solve my physics homework. And the professor's like, "Oh, that's a neat looking program. What's that?" I said, "Oh, it's just a program I wrote in Visual Basic." She says, "Oh, I should have you give me some tips. I'm teaching Visual Basic next year." I was like, "Why would you want my tips?" "Oh, I've never looked at it before." So literally the college professor who's teaching Visual Basic next semester has never looked at Visual Basic. There's another reason to avoid college. Love when science people rant about question restrictions. More intelligent than people ranting, people making the decisions. Yeah, I know, right? Question qualification, yeah. But most places hiring wanted the stupid A+ cert that is nearly useless in the actual tech world. Yeah, it is. Huh? All right, let me check in on Matrix over here. Let's see what we got. Okay. Nope, did that. Ad blocks on the screens. What if I can't get cell signal? Yeah, there you go. HP is doing the HP now. Yes, indeed it is. Computer science and engineering, not just CS. Learn to code so you can create AI that will take over everyone's job. Oh, yes, that includes your own job. You expect criminal supporters to be peaceful? Are you really insane, huh? Yeah, you know, I might be insane. There you go. All right, we got 15 watching over on Rumble. Great Liquid is on. Greetings to you over on Odyssey. No other comments. 13 watching on Odyssey. Okay. Started without me. Yeah, we did. Sorry. In reality, one goes to a different source. One gets lost by them and they don't understand what they're consuming. Yep. I got the YouTube ad block warning on Firefox. It went away quickly. Haven't seen it again since. Yeah, a lot of these ones, you just refresh page. Weather Channel's doing it aggressively right now. Like right now, every time I load the Weather Channel, it's like, I think you're using an ad blocker. Just hit the refresh and it goes away. I want to check out Laura Malviana's channel on YouTube. She's partially blind who's recently been doing Linux content. That's cool. Rather deal with a person. No, Googleplex is recording. Yep. Amazon Fire Drill. Amazon robots will be wearing turbans and have Indian names. And we'll never figure out the reality of a human world. Yep. Should I still upgrade my Proton Mail account from free to paid tier? Given the situation, I mean, Proton Mail has said if the law passes, they're leaving Switzerland. So I would say it's probably safe. But I don't know. You'd have to evaluate that and think, you know, is it worth it if you have to pull out of it? I'm not an advocate of deporting all non-whites. That's ridiculous. There's lots of people here who are not white who are here perfectly legally and contribute greatly to society. So I wouldn't deal with that. But I know a lot of decent non-white people. Yeah. Let's see. I'm fourth indigenous. Uh-oh. And we have a fight breaking out over there. All right. All right. And back to the tubies. Daniel, greetings. Trade schools. Yeah, trade schools can be good. Again, if you know what you want to do with it. Friend of mine went through trade school, cost like $7,000, did well, worked in the field for maybe a year, could never move up. He was always hired at super low level stuff that didn't require the degrees. He works very, very happily at a high wage job as a custodian and loves it. Even his tech school wasn't needed. A zip drive, the second type. 250 megabyte, I think, and never even installed it on a PC because it was a SCSI and I only had IDE back then. Yeah, I had to get a separate SCSI port for my zip drive. Yep. And useless since the early hundreds when A+ became about how much money they can make from people. Yeah. Linux instructor didn't know Linux and was following a planned curriculum and was confused when I told her that a 12-year-old version of Fedora wasn't good for class. Yeah. Which distro would you recommend a 67-year-old parent who's only ever used Windows before? Definitely Linux Mint. Just do Linux Mint. Yep. You need to know if the jobs are available to go look into trade schools. Well, I'm a K-12 guy, no formal education. Yep, there you go. All right, we have reached the bottom of the comments. I am completely boiling up. It has actually gotten hotter in here since I've started, despite it being night and I have the fan on. It is 32°C in this van. I am sweating like a disgusting, nasty pig. So I got to get out of here, folks. All right. Have yourselves a wonderful week. We'll see you guys sometime this weekend. We'll do a video drop for sure on Saturday. I already have one pretty close to ready to go. And then we'll be back with another one Monday. Remember, next week my schedule goes really weird and wonky. I don't even know when news is going to be, if it's going to fly. I'll be teaching at a conference, and I'm pretty sure we have something late Thursday. That might be a weird one. We do like a news on a Saturday or something. I don't know. It might be weird. I have to look into what my schedule looks like next week and things like that. But stay tuned. I'll post on the, at least on the YouTube community tab, what I figure out to do. With that, thanks for watching, and we will see you guys later.